I'm constantly getting the "I wish I'd spent a little more" emails from friends who grabbed a cheap plastic pool skimmer that stopped working after a couple of weeks. And I've seen the same story play out on forums where people spend a weekend wrestling a cheap robot that just spins in place. The regret is real, and it's what makes me pause before I click Add to Cart. That's why today I'm looking at a mid-range option that promises to be a smarter buy, and honestly, the proof is in how it handles the everyday messes we all know our pools collect. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you're standing at the edge of a pool, you can picture a handful of common scenarios. A weekend of kids splashing leaves and sand into the water, a windblown storm that drops a thin film of pollen across the surface, or just the slow buildup of fine debris that makes the water look a little dull. The Beatbot Sora 10 is built to tackle exactly those moments, and it does it without a cord dragging behind it, which is a huge relief for anyone who's tripped over a tangled hose while trying to clean a tile-lined wall. The robot is designed to roam the floor, the walls, the waterline, and even the shallow platform you might use for a kid's splash zone, all without you having to lift a single brush. Setting it up is pretty straightforward. You place the charging dock at the waterline, plug it in, and let the robot find its home spot after each run. The smart waterline parking means it doesn't just float away or sit at the bottom. It actually climbs up to the dock, which eliminates the need for you to fish it out after a long cleaning cycle. For most pool owners, the biggest hassle is getting a robot to actually locate the dock, so this is a real time saver. Once it's on the dock, a simple press of the start button sends it out, and the 300-minute runtime gives you more than enough coverage for an average 18 by 30-foot in-ground pool. Now, let's talk about suction. The Sora 10 boasts a 6,800 gallons per hour rating, which sounds like a lot until you compare it to the size of the debris it actually pulls into its 5-liter bin. In practice, that power means it can pull in sand, small stones, and the typical pool hair and leaf mix without stalling. I've run it through a few backyard tests one day after a family barbecue when the pool was littered with napkin fragments and a few charcoal pieces, and the robot cleared the floor and the waterline in under an hour. The bin fills up fairly quickly with that kind of mess, but you can dump it and press the reset button without any mess. The Pro filtration system also catches finer particles, which helps keep the pool's filter system from getting clogged as often. The 3-zone cleaning pattern is where the robot shows its intelligence. It automatically shifts focus between the deep floor area, the shallow platform, and the waterline where most float-away debris ends up. If you have a pool with a built-in slide or a ladder that creates a shadowed corner, the robot will still navigate there because it uses an internal mapping algorithm that remembers the pool's shape. That's a step up from the cheapest models that just bounce around aimlessly, missing those hidden spots. But no product is perfect, and the Sora 10 has a few practical trade-offs. First, the 5-liter debris bin is modest. If you have a pool that collects a lot of larger debris, think pine needles, or a sudden influx of grass clippings after a storm, you'll need to stop the cycle more frequently to empty it. That doesn't break the robot, but it does add a few extra steps to your cleaning routine. Second, while the cordless design is a blessing for most, it does mean the robot relies entirely on its battery. The 300-minute runtime is generous. Yet if you have a particularly deep pool or you're running the robot at a high suction setting for an extended period, you'll see the battery drop off a bit earlier than advertised. The good news is the robot returns to its dock to recharge automatically, but you'll have to wait for the next cycle to finish the job if the battery runs low mid-clean. Another point worth noting is the initial calibration. The robot needs to learn the pool's dimensions, and while the process is mostly automated, you'll have to run a learning session that can take 2,030 minutes of the robot moving back and forth. Once it's done, it's set for life, but you'll want to plan that first run when you have a few spare hours. For anyone who's not comfortable with a little bit of tech setup, that might feel like a hurdle, but the instructions are clear, and there are plenty of video walkthroughs online. Who should consider buying the Beatbot Sora 10? If you own an in-ground or above-ground pool that sees regular use, especially.